Did you know that in America, general elections always occur during Scorpio season? And Inauguration Day will always fall on either the final degree of Capricorn or 0 degrees Aquarius. Well, I could spend hours explaining why this makes sense astrologically, and I could spend even more hours debating the legitimacy of the zodiac archetypes in politics. That's not why I'm here. The real question is, how can astrology make you money? I'm not here to convince you to start reading horoscopes. Instead, I aim to demystify astrology, showing how it can be a practical tool to uncover patterns in your life, patterns you can learn to recognize and then leverage to your advantage. A key difference between me and other astrologers is simply that I'm not bound by static interpretations or ancient doctrines. For the first time in human history, we have access to tools like AI that allow us to analyze astrological timing in past, present, and real time events. If data shows that Capricorns excel in finance more than Taurians, so be it. I'm not here to defend outdated belief if there's data that can prove otherwise, but I'm here to evolve astrology into a practical data backed tool. I do use the traditional archetypes as a starting point, but my ultimate goal is tangible results. My focus is on improving your life and making you more money, not just offering generic esoteric insights. The key difference between you and other leaders in business and various sectors is that you're ambitious and creative enough to really think outside of the box you can be rewarded for that, because the biggest irony is that astrology at its core is a brilliant mathematical model, a closed system capable of calculating planetary positions backward and forward in time with astronomical precision. Yet skeptics dismiss it, often due to misconceptions, when they are the types that would enjoy the flexibility and applications of this tool the absolute most. For instance, critics frequently point out that constellations have shifted due to the axial precession. We know this. This implies astrology is outdated. However, modern astrology doesn't rely on constellations. Instead, it uses precise astronomical markers, the same ones that define our seasons. It makes astrology a mathematically accurate system, independent of the physical alignment of the stars. While ancient astrology used constellations as reference points, today's tropical astrology measures planetary angles relative to Earth orbit around the sun. This distinction allows astrology to remain consistent and calculable indefinitely, something that would be impossible if it relied solely on physical star positions, since that stuff can vary over time. So long as you aren't disappointed that astrology does not reflect where the planets are actually physically aligned with the zodiac constellations in the sky, as it is instead measured how they are expected relative to each other at Earth, we can easily move past the popular arguments that are somehow successfully used to refute the practice entirely as having no value or applications whatsoever. It's important for my clients to be well informed on astrology. I'm not a gatekeeper of hidden secrets, but a purveyor of potential that will find the most success if you have a basic but comprehensive understanding of what you're working with. I don't have my own apps or software yet, but I can recommend the highest quality ones and empower you on how to use them in our initial consultation. My software aspirations are slightly different from that the ones I intend on making are quite different from the ones that are out there right now. But I can recommend a few that are very cheap yet high quality tools that empowers you to no financial or compensation benefit to me whatsoever to understand and leverage astrology to your advantage so that you're completely free to do this on your own, cheap and easy without me. I am not trying to be a gatekeeper. I want my clientele to be empowered and to be smart with this. I don't want you to need me. I want you to want my services because I'm good at what I do. And also, why would I do something like give so much away in my initial consultation? It's simple because I just eliminated my competitors by equipping you with more than what they will offer you and a tangible benefit from thousands to tens of thousands of dollars. To them, just your mere self awareness through the lens of astrology or whatever design is their intended goal of a happy customer. For me, that's just establishing my client with the basics and empowering them to keep up with the wealth of information and data we can uncover to your advantage. They don't research how your personal life events unfolded using cutting edge technologies. They look at your birth chart and give you a summary of what that means through their words or their software's words. I view my clients as strategic partners. My success depends on yours, so I remain impartial, politically independent, and focus on delivering actionable advice. My aim is not just to interpret your chart, but to help you grow personally, professionally, and financially. My advice is superior because I can address self sabotage in ways that don't feel invalidating or threatening and can promote growth in all areas of life, communication, and interpersonal relationships. I don't want you to feel bad about yourself or your mistakes. I want you to stop internalizing those negative emotions that backfire in later conversations and reframe them as simple misunderstandings about yourself that can either be laughed at or leveraged. People in high places have strong egos and they've earned it. The best ones know that true success mandates a perpetual evolution towards greater successes. And that evolution means adapting to a changing world and being self aware enough to approach constructive and respectful advice as empowering for growth. Those who recognize their weaknesses as much as accurately as they know their strengths, they gain an advantage of strategic genius in terms of their potential. For people who typically answer to few and likely trust even fewer, I can appreciate the value of the exceptional advice and insight I bring to the table as a well informed, intuitive outsider. Astrology is unique because its precision allows it to differentiate every moment of time with infinite, I mean, this literally scalability. Each person's chart is unique, defined by the exact moment and location of their birth. The number of possible charts is staggering, far surpassing the combinations of a shuffle deck of the number of possible ways you can shuffle a deck of poker cards. Bigger number than that. Think of the planets as cosmic clocks, constantly ticking away in the background of our lives. By analyzing their movements and angles, we can uncover patterns with immense practical applications. Using AI and advanced technology, we can study these patterns in ways never imagined. Public figures, for instance, are ideal subjects for this approach. They offer a wealth of data and are often open to innovative strategies. Astrology isn't just about personality traits or vague predictions. It's about timing patterns and leveraging the consistency of planetary movements for strategic advantage. It's an untapped wealth of information just waiting to be discovered by anyone used to their advantage. Astrology is astronomically consistent because it is based on scientific principles like solstices, equinoxes, and orbital mechanics. While skeptics dismiss it, there's no denying the anecdotal and other evidence that seasonal cycles and even full moons seem to influence human behavior. With the right tools and methodologies, we can uncover these patterns and use them to drive success. I invite you to explore this exciting intersection of ancient wisdom and modern technology. Let's discover together the patterns that will transform your life and adventures. Still interested? Let me teach you a little bit about how to read an astrology chart. They can look very alien and intimidating to the uninformed, but they're actually quite simple to understand. Astrology isn't complex in how it fundamentally works. What's complex is the innumerable ways and specificity to which these placements around the zodiac wheel can be interpreted, through the different degrees of the signs. The complexity of astrology is the most woo part of it, how it's interpreted to have meaning on personality and human affairs. But the potential of astrology as a tool can be illustrated without all of that. Its interpretations aren't why it can make you money. Why it can make you money is how it can be used as a tool for measuring patterns and trends over time as they align to astrological placements. This is important because we can predict all astrological placements in the foreseeable future. Your natal chart is what typically is read by astrologers. I am different by how I research your chart and how it has unfolded with your biggest wins, stories, and losses. When did they actually happen? And I use that data over all other interpretations to create a presentation that gives you an accurate representation of trends in your life. People might allegedly be more of the cutthroat creative type if they're born during Scorpio season. And I may mention deeper observations relevant to that zodiac archetype, such as that, during my sessions. But there's no data to back that. I label that as more intuitive, as the more intuitive part of my practice. That's less about science and more about the, mysterious and unknown. However, certain types of events might happen for you both during Scorpio season, for example, and also when Mars transits Scorpio. And we have tools now to spot these trends. So you know what to anticipate when Mars enters Scorpio again in September 2025. Business will measure things year over year and a linear chart for gains and losses. This data can be combined with astrological methodologies that both forecast trends if you want to get empirical or overhaul strategies based on what you want to learn if you want to get intuitive. Additionally, the equivalent of a natal chart can be created for businesses themselves too, to predict how a venture might unfold in intuitive ways or to track trends using astrology instead of quarters or year over year. So if you're considering getting into some strategic astrology, come look at my natal chart with me so I can show you what it all means and also reveal some placements about myself which might be relevant to our hopefully future partnership. Let's take a moment to break down a natal chart using my own as an example. The circle represents the Earth's orbit around the sun, this outer circle, and you can see the different signs. This represents Virgo, Leo, Cancer. And this represents the 12 signs of the zodiac in one full year. This is a symbol for the sun. You can see the key up here. There's the planets, there's their symbol. So you can see which planets are placed where. Here is their symbol again. Here, we'll get back to that, this chart in a minute. It's not as complex as it looks, I promise. So this represents the orbit of the sun. I'm sorry, the Earth around the sun. But we read the sun in the chart and not the Earth. So everything goes around this counterclockwise. All the planetary bodies, whether it's the sun or an asteroid, this is Chiron, they'll go counterclockwise around during the year. So this inner circle where you see the numbers 1 through 12, these are the houses. So these precise measurements could be applied to this side. So you could apply one side, which represents the 12 signs around the year, and then this represents Earth's rotation upon Earth's spin around its axis. So this is 24 hours in one day. So the outer circle is 12 signs of 1 year, and the inner circle is the 12 houses of 1 day. About each sign is about 2 hours long, or each house spends about 2 hours in each sign. Is there 24 hours in a day and 12 signs? So the inner circle is the house measurement, and the outer circle is the sign measurement. And so the houses are determined by birth time. So this is the ascendant. This is the mark of the, if this is Earth right here, here is the horizon from where you were on Earth is the ascendant. Mine's in 6 degrees Cancer, for example. And so that's how it's represented. So if I was born 12 hours earlier at 7:27 a.m., this chart would look entirely different. My rising would be Capricorn. And while all these planets would still be in Sagittarius, they would be in the 12th house instead of the 6th house. So right now they're in the 6th house. And because this is determined by birth time, the house system. So they still be in like Sagittarius, or my sun is in 29 degrees Scorpio. It's hard to see, it's right on the edge there. So there's 30 degrees for each sign. These would be the same sign, but in a different house. And each house has a different meaning. Each house is ruled by a sign. The first house is ruled by Aries, which is the first sign, on into the 12th house, which is the last sign, Pisces. And so that's what these are. So each planet, each sign is 30 degrees. And so each planet is in one of the 30 degrees of each sign. And the house can be divided in the same degree, minute, seconds way. And that's just the degree of each sign. It's the degree, minute, and seconds. So I'm in 29 degrees Scorpio, 9 minutes, 22 seconds. Now, the one exception to the counterclockwise movement of the planets on the chart, as well as the houses on the chart, is the true node or north node. Sometimes both the north node and the south node are read. This is the point in the lunar orbit where if, so a full moon is when the sun and the moon are completely opposite each other. So how kind of Mars and Jupiter are opposite here on an astrological chart, a full moon, like the sun and the moon would be opposite like that. Whereas a new moon, I was born on a new moon. So the moon was very close to the sun. I had a new moon birthday, and the moon would be over here if it was a full moon. So if a new moon or a full moon occurs at this north node point, it's a lunar or a solar eclipse, depending on if it's a new moon or a full moon. I don't know which one is which off the top of my head. But that's what the north node is. And it goes clockwise around the zodiac. This point does. And it takes about 18 years for it to go once completely around the wheel. And the same kind of thing applies to the planets as well. So for the sun, it takes 1 year to go around the wheel. For the moon, it takes about 28 days to go around the wheel. Venus moves very similarly to the sun. Takes about a year to orbit the sun, whereas Saturn takes about every 30 years. So it would take 30 years from Saturn go to this from this place in all the way back to this place in Sagittarius. So each planet is different in how fast it moves this Chiron. And the last thing to know about a chart is these lines right here. They indicate what are called aspects or significant angles. They include conjunction, which is also a new moon, when it's the sun and the moon in conjunction, but it's when they line up into the same degree. And if they're within 10 degrees of a placement, they're considered within that aspect. So this is an opposition, Jupiter and Mars right here. They're in opposition. Oppositions are marked by a red line. So they're about 180 degrees apart. But as you can see, it's in 20 degrees Aries and 28 degrees Mars. It'd be an exact opposition if it was also in 20 degrees Aries or if Jupiter was in 28 degrees Aries. And if Mars was in 20 degrees Libra, then it would be an exact opposition. But it's within what we say an orb of 8 degrees. So it's an orb to the exact point of the opposition within 8 degrees. And so there's like a few major angles and several not minor angles. Conjunction is when two are lined up to the same degree. A sextile is when they are about 60 degrees apart, as indicated by this green weird sign right here. So my Mars is sextile my sun. And it's indicated by that dotted green line between my Mars and sun as well. So it's indicated twice on the chart. My moon is in conjunction with my sun. They're 9 degrees or a 10-degree orb. So the orb number here, they're 10-degree orb to -2-degree orb. It means the same thing. It just depends on the perspective. But it'll be a range from -10 to 10. To describe how close it is to the actual placement. So like my Jupiter and my Saturn are in an exact trine. So it's 0 right there. So 20 degrees Aries, 20 degrees Sagittarius. Yep, they're in a pretty close too. They're 20 degrees, 47, and then 20 degrees, 42. So pretty close on that trine right there. So yeah, I think it's the only exact one I have. Oh no, another exact trine down here with Mercury and my descendant, which is the opposite of your ascendant. So there's also points on the astrological chart that are automatically oppositions. So like the north node and the south node will, like my south node will always be in 0 degrees Libra because my north node is in 0 degrees Aries. My ascendant's in 6 degrees Cancer, so my descendant is in 6 degrees Capricorn. And my midheaven is in 12 degrees Pisces. And so my IC, I don't remember the long name for that, is in Virgo. But these all I remember what their themes are. I don't remember what the actual name for that is. Yeah, so it's like a general overview. And this just cardinal, fixed, mutable. The signs are traditionally divided in 3 ways into their dignities, which is either cardinal, fixed, or mutable. The fixed signs, I'm a fixed sign. It's Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, Aquarius. I have it all written down somewhere. I know most of them off the top of my head, but not all of them, so I don't want to uh, reveal the ones I don't know off the top of my head. And then fire, air, earth, water. So I have two cardinal fire signs, two planets in a cardinal fire sign, which is Aries. You can look up an immutable fire, which is Sagittarius. Um, and so that's what these mean. It's just the planetary placements, and then like you read, this is the North Node, this is Pluto, so this box here represents where they intersect, and they don't have any kind of angles going on that are notable. This is the moon. It's square to my descendant. Jupiter is trine. What is that? Uranus. So yeah, that's really how you demystify an astrological chart. These aren't complicated, but as you can see, just from this alone, more than you can shuffle a deck of cards, which is an astronomical number. A unique chart can be created. And so we all have completely unique charts here on Earth, and transits can be overlaid. So how transits are usually done is on this outer wheel, you'll see where the planets are currently placed, and where they fall in your houses can mean so many different things. And so these are traditionally interpreted in certain ways, which I do base myself on, and I am I do have my beliefs founded upon that. But like, my goal is to use real data and real life examples and track what actually happens and what trends actually unfold when we put real data in there. So I hope you feel more educated and empowered in the areas of astrology and see the potential of strategic astrology. If you are interested in inquiring about my services, please feel free to reach out to me via email at the Oracle of Delray at gmail.com. I chose that name as a play on the Oracle of Delphi, as well as my family and the Masonic and as well as the Gypsy side of my family, the more mysterious clandestine side of my family. When they first immigrated here, my great grandfather came here from the Hungary area. They migrated to the Delray neighborhood of Detroit. And so my gypsy mysterious heritage comes from Delray, Detroit, as I thought was a very beautiful play on words with the Oracle of Delphi, which is a very sacred person in terms of the practice of human design, as well as a very venerated position in ancient Greece to have. So with all of that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you will watch more of my instructional videos I'm going to put out there on YouTube so that I can empower everyone to use astrology to their advantage. But to also showcase my service to that, if you want to use data and research that I do to leverage it to your advantage, it's slightly different. So I'm not here to compete with the other astrologers. I'm here to provide that as a basic understanding and then offer something above and beyond that. So once again, thank you so much for watching this and tuning in with me. And I hope you will, see if I can get my screen to come back. There we go. I hope you will reach out to me. Thank you so much.